Oh, hey, Raelyn. Welcome. Come take a seat. Let's talk.
Hey, counselor. This is really awkward for me to say, but my boyfriend wants to start having sex with me, and I guess I'm too worried about getting pregnant to actually, you know, let him have the goods. I was just wondering, what type of ways can I prevent pregnancy? What can I do, so I can actually start a sexual healthy relationship with him?
Well, I have this amazing diagram right next to me about the female body part. It's called the vagina. The vagina consists of many parts. For example, the vagina. It has the cervix, the ovary, the fallopian tube, the uterus. So every month, there's an egg that's released from the ovary. And then the egg will travel down through the fallopian tube and into the uterus. Once it reaches the uterus, if it does not meet with a sperm, it will be released down the cervix and into the vagina, resulting in your period.
I already know all this stuff. My question is, what do I do from stopping the sperm to get to the egg?
Well, Raelyn, the only birth control method that's 100% effective against STDs and being pregnant is being abstinent. Abstinent means that you cannot have no oral, vaginal, or anal sex.
Well, that's obviously not where my relationship is going, so what's the next best thing?
Well, Raelyn, if being abstinent is not an option for you, I can go over a few other birth control methods with you and you can decide which one is right for you.
Well, it sounds like a good plan. What was the first type of birth control you said again? Barriers?
Well, Raelyn, barrier birth control will stop the sperm from reaching the uterus. Well, there's 3 types of barriers for women and 1 type for male. The first barrier we're going to go through is going to be the male barrier, which is the male condom. Pretty much is a little rubber that goes over the penis, and this is how you put it on. 2 out of 100 women each year will get pregnant if you use the condom effectively. So when the man's about to ejaculate, there's this little tip right here that will collect all the sperm and will prevent it from entering in here. Another thing you might want to know, Raelyn, is that male condoms also protect you from STDs, but will not do 100% of it. So you still have a chance of catching an STD. Some advantages about the male condom is that they're not expensive at all. You do not need a prescription. And they're easy to carry. Condoms are really inexpensive. They range from $2 to $6 sometimes, depending on what kind you get. The second option you have for a barrier is called the female condom. It's almost the same thing as a male condom, but instead of putting it on the penis, you insert this condom in the vagina. 5 out of 100 women will get pregnant if used correctly each year. These are also not as expensive either. They're $2 to $4. And you do not need a prescription either. Another option you have is also called a diaphragm. To use a diaphragm, you're going to have to be very comfortable with yourself and touching yourself. With a diaphragm, 6 out of 100 women will get pregnant if used effectively each year. A reason why this is a barrier is because you're going to have to insert it into your vagina and it's going to sit right in front of the cervix. And if you add spermicide to it, which is a lubricant that's put on top of the diaphragm, which helps slow down sperm, will help you reduce your chances of getting pregnant. Now, some advantages of the diaphragm is that it's a little pricey, but not too much. It's between $15 to $75, and it's reusable. The disadvantages of it is that you need to go to the doctor. Some disadvantages is that you need to go to the doctor and get fitted for it. You may also develop some urinary tract infections more frequently. And they do not prevent you from getting an STD. Another important information you need to know is that you cannot keep the diaphragm longer than 24 hours inside of you. You need to take it out and clean it out. Now, if you're scared of shoving that diaphragm up your vagina, there's a smaller version of it. It's called the cervical cap. It's pretty much the same thing like the diaphragm, but a lot smaller. 14 out of 100 people will actually get pregnant out of this if used effectively. And there's 3 different sizes also. There's a small, medium, and large. Depending on what size you want, like, you know, I don't like large, I don't like medium. You can also use spermicide on the cervical cap, but you don't need as much as it as you do with a diaphragm. Some advantages that you have with a cervical cap is that it's $60 to $75, and you can use less spermicide with it. Some disadvantages you have with this is you need a doctor to prescribe this, and it does not protect you from any STDs. The cervical cap can only be left in your vagina for 48 hours, otherwise you're going to get really sick and you might die. Now the last option you have is called the sponge. What the sponge is a sponge that is filled with spermicide, and the way it works, you just add 2 tablespoons of water and it activates the spermicide. You insert it through your vagina and make sure it covers the cervix. The sponge also has this little nylon loop for easy removal. 9 out of 100 women will get pregnant out of this if used effectively, and you can only keep this in for 30 hours. Otherwise, you can get sick.
Right.
Some advantages you have for this is you do not need any prescription, and it costs between $9 to $15. Some disadvantages you have with this is that it will not protect you from any STDs, and if you cannot remove this, you will have to go into the doctor and get it removed. And it's not reusable.
Well, let's just say I don't feel comfortable with shoving things up my vagina. So, what's the next best option?
Well, if you're not comfortable with the barriers, there is another option for you. It's called a hormonal birth